Brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me today. So this video has to do with elevating the energy of this world in love, in perfected love, and the love that Heavenly Father and Mother have for their children, and the love that Yahshua has for us. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start this. And as always, please take everything to Yahshua, to Father and Mother for yourself, that you may learn what it is you need to know for yourself in your own life. So I would like to start with asking you a question, a few questions actually. Ask yourself, have you ever felt discouraged in an accomplishment of overcoming a weakness that no matter how long it had been since you had been able to overcome it, it still was presented like it was still occurring in your life? Because the shame or the hurt or the unforgiveness was still very much so present in other people's hearts. So no matter what you did, you couldn't overcome it. You couldn't move past it. So have you ever felt that way? And at times you get to a point where you have felt like God is an impossible God, because why can I change all these things about myself, but it never seems to be enough? Have you ever felt that way? Today we're going to look into that and how our energy fields affect our ascension process. Elevating this world with eternal love and its energy of that will be key. So here's another question to ask yourself. Why? So I'm going to go into kingdom unions, but this also has to do with our brothers and sisters as a whole interacting as a family of heaven as a whole. So this has to do with being brothers and sisters, but it also has to do with kingdom unions and our spouses. So ask yourself, why was I placed with my spouse? Do you really know how to do Father's will? What if Father placed you with someone that had characteristics that you said you would never be with a person like that? Would you run into the fire as asked or away from it? So there's a couple more questions to ask yourself. So I encourage you to pause it at this point and go back and really evaluate what has already been said. Discovering the importance of victory energy and remaining in it is key. It is so important that we learn to celebrate the victories in our life and in the lives of others. We came here to overcome, and in order to overcome something, we must see it for what it is. Because we are eternal beings, there can be what the world can call karma of self-curses and generational curses, not only from this life, but from past lives. And that's the greatest gift that Yahshua offers us, is eternal life. When we come here with a plan that we made directly with Father and Mother. It's our plan of things that we want to overcome and improve and be better at. And some of that has to do with undoing the karma that we created upon ourselves in previous lives. We have to be willing, especially in kingdom unions, to be willing to step into the fire with each other. That's eternal love. Seeing a person in their flawed state and say, I'm going to step into the fire with this person to help them. That's true eternal love. As each person goes through their healing process and their growing process and stripping process, which is the redemption process, of curses, generational curses, of self-inflicted curses that have not necessarily just come from this life. There's going to be times where it stings. But the sting is the burn, but it's the refining also. As this happens, and we are willing to see heaven's hand, We step into the victory of the energy of that victory accomplished. We do not shame and discourage the victory that has been achieved. When we conquer something, a weakness of the flesh, a curse or generational curse, some people can call this deliverance, weakness of the flesh, we need to celebrate it, not make a person feel bad for what they were battling, and not shame them or discourage them. If we want to elevate a person's energy field, we cannot put them back in the energy that they were in before the victory. If we do that, then it makes them a target again for the enemy. If we put them back in the energy of where this sin was, it's easy for Satan to get them in that energy to fall back into what they had overcome. So I know that that's a lot, but I want you to think about how often we see, especially in spouses or children, a weakness. And instead of celebrating what has happened, we're like, that they overcame it, that they conquered it. How could you have done that? How could you have thought that? How could you have acted upon that? Whatever it is, right? And we bring that up and we shame the person instead of celebrating the victory of what was overcome. The goal is to elevate their energy field through celebrating the victory, not the shame of it. If we truly are here to have an eternal love for each other, then we are celebrating the victory. So when we elevate a person's energy field through this victory achieved, it helps keep their energy elevated in a victory state. And when we help keep others in this elevated state, it helps them remain in that ascension state and not backslide. So I want to give you a visual, and this visual is more extreme, of a more extreme deliverance. But there are also small victories that we have continually. And so this has to do with a bigger victory. And often bigger victories have more sting that come with them, right? Because there's more burning, there's more purifying process. And especially when you're in a kingdom union, you are connected to that person, which means the sting, you're going to feel the burn along with them, and you're going to learn lessons through it for yourself in your own ascension, why they're going through lessons for their ascension process. So in bigger victories and bigger deliverances, a kingdom spouse is going to feel that sting. They're going to feel that burn. But if you understand that the burning brings the purification process, we can elevate this world greater in that love. So I'm going to give you a visual, and this is for a greater deliverance. If a person has a massive victory, and this is for kingdom unions and your spouses, so if a person has a massive victory for you or your spouse, and they come to you, and some of what they told you, it stings. So the darkness is brought into the light, and they're coming to you to share that light with you. But you see the darkness of it, and that stings. You become hurt. The sting, because it hurts, sorry. But if we could see the victory that they just conquered, the sting is removed, because we're able to hand it more quickly over to Father and Mother and say, okay, we're going to celebrate this victory. Yes, this stung. Yes, this hurt. I'm going to take what I can learn from this and hand it back to Father and Mother. And that's when our burden becomes light, because we're able to hand it back. So the sting, the burn of it is removed. Say that they have had a really hard time with self-control of the flesh. Say it is in in a lustful sexual way, and they've conquered. So let's just use pornography, or let's just use pornography in there. And they've conquered that. So imagine a 200-foot or 200 or 2,000 foot tower. Okay, let's go extreme. This is an extreme deliverance. And they just took this massive leap. It wasn't a stepping stone they took. This massive leap on this tower of victory was a massive leap. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I lost my place on this. Okay, it wasn't a stepping stone. They just took this massive leap on this tower of victory. As the wife, if you turn around and say, wait a minute, that hurt me, so I'm going to now pick up the ball and chain, that baggage that they just now left behind, and I'm going to try to make this leap. For one, it's not for you to pick up. It's for you to celebrate the victory with your husband or your wife. For two, if you do that, what you are doing is putting your spouse back in the negative energy, because you want to take the hurt of their victory, of what they overcame, and carry it upon yourself, meaning that their weakness is brought back in their face over and over and over again. And women are really flawed in this area, where they want to keep bringing the curse energy back into their husband's face, because now they've picked up the ball and chain that their husbands, left behind, and ultimately is not their ball and chain to pick up. It's their husband's victory of what they left behind. This doesn't allow your husband to elevate, or your wife to elevate. If you do this, that puts them back in the energy every time it's brought up of what happened. So their energy level is not able to stay at that energy level of the ascension that they just achieved, the victory of what they just achieved. They're being placed back in that lower frequency and energy of where they were when they conquered it, or before they conquered it. The goal is to elevate past the energy of the weakness and hurt. We can only do that as we see heaven's hand at work in our lives in all things. We celebrate the victory of what they have achieved, and we do not discourage the victory from being present. Seeing unblinded what just actually occurred. We are present in the victory, we are present in the moment of the victory, and we remain there, and we move forward. We do not go back, we move forward. It's really important that we live in a place of being present. We leave the ball and chain at the bottom of the tower where it was left. We elevate up to the victory where our spouse is at, and pick them up in a higher energy field of love and celebrating the huge victory that was achieved. Big or small, we celebrate the victory every time the energy around us ascends us to higher levels of being. The purpose behind the New Moon Feast is to celebrate all the victories that happened during the previous month for the kingdom. Everything that people overcame for the kingdom is supposed to be a huge celebration for the growth, the overcoming. These are the prodigal sons and daughters being brought back into the truth and overcoming the flesh. Yahshua taught us to overcome the flesh. That's what we're supposed to do. So we must learn to create light and use our agency for the manner it was actually given. We need to be creating a place of victory for overcoming the flesh, no longer a place of shame and defeat. Victory celebrates the love that we have for our brothers and sisters, and especially our spouses in their victories. If we are not celebrating the victories and keeping them If we are not celebrating the victories and keeping them instead in the shame, then we are putting ourselves and them back in the energy field that they just struggled to get through, and makes them again a target for the enemy. Stop making our spouses a target for the enemy and uplift and encourage them. If we want to elevate the energy of this earth, we must elevate it in true eternal love, realizing we are all flawed and we all have victories to be had, and they need to be celebrated, not shamed. If we can get to a place where we can see that life happens for us and not to us, this will be easier for us to achieve. So take that in for a minute. It happens for us, not to us. And if you willingly stepped into the fire with your spouse, you will know that all things will work together for your good. And from the ashes, beauty is created. In the darkest of places, the light can be found. So let us embrace the growth, the victories, and the trials, and see the beauty in kingdom unions. And as we help lift one another up, seeing Father and Mother's hand in our life and the powerful gift Yahshua gave us to overcome the flesh. Brothers and sisters, may we elevate this world with love, and may we finally see that we are all here with our own plans, and we came here all overcoming things. And especially as kingdom unions, as kings and queens, we literally agreed to help the other person in their weaknesses. The biggest struggle that I have had to have in understanding things is, for me, in my own union, Father and Mother placed me in a union that in my mind, it was things that I'm like, oh, I don't want that in a spouse. I don't want that in a spouse. And they're like, well, actually, you have a spirit that can help this person in these areas. This is part of what you do. And if we can see that we have strengths inside of us, that literally we are powerhouses. We have strengths in us that can help people in the weaknesses that they have, and vice versa. Me and my husband both, it was amazing for us. Father and Mother absolutely placed us in our union. We knew it 100%. But we were completely unveiled to one another, and we got to see each other in our weakness states. And there were characteristics that both of us were like, we don't know if we can step into that. And we willingly chose to step into the fire. It has been a long, hard journey, but now seeing things as it is and where we have come and the beauty from the ashes is absolutely amazing. You cannot go into a union with expectations. If you have been placed in a union, it is Father and Mother's will for your life. And the beauty of watching another person overcome and celebrating the victories. Brothers and sisters, it is glorious. We live in an instant world, and in an instant world, we want to give up when things are hard. If we are kings and queens, we didn't come here to give up. We didn't come here to be part of the world. We came here to be in the world, but not of it. The only thing that is going to change this world is elevated love. It starts with the first and second greatest commandment. And we cannot love ourselves until we can love Father and Mother and see truly why we're here. We can see the plan of life and why we are here. At that point, when we can love ourselves through the struggles and through the weaknesses, and we can conquer those things, we can learn to love ourselves, and we can learn to love our spouse first, because they should be our very first neighbor is our spouse. And then we can love others as ourselves, our brothers and sisters. So brothers and sisters, our lives are not meant to be easy. They're meant to have growth. They are meant to overcome. And some of that growth doesn't come from this life. And so if we are trying to see things only through the flesh and not through the spirit, then we cannot see the growth that's meant to be had. We must be born again in the spirit. And what will change this world is true eternal love. And that is why Yahshua taught the first and second greatest commandments of all. And they're both connected to love. And love is what creates the worlds and what helps a world ascend. So may we love our brothers and sisters. May we begin to understand Isaiah 1 and Isaiah 66 and the new moon feast and the prodigal sons and daughters, and why we are to get out of the mud and change. What is change? Change is repentance. And may we change these things about ourselves. May we have forgiveness in our hearts, so that we're not 4 years later or 10 years later still trying to conquer something that we conquered 10 years prior, but finding ourselves still in the muck. May we truly love and cherish one another. And may we bring love and light back to this world. And may we see that the flame that burns within each of us. And may we see the flame of light that flickers in the darkness. And may we let it become a huge burning flame within us. May we truly be the candlesticks that light this earth, because we are the menorahs. We are the temples that will cover this earth with light if we allow our light to be shown. And if we can truly bring back true eternal love, which is what we are to become perfected in. We are to be perfect as Joshua and Father are perfected in love. It is love. It is true eternal love. May it now flood this earth. Have a blessed day.